when does it get to the point that we mismanage what God has given us? And that's what I've dealt with. Am I doing it to the best of my ability? And if I'm not, then why would he promote or give me anything, the desires of my heart? Because he will. Sometimes, he'll supply our needs, and sometimes he'll give us some of our wants. I don't think that's in the Bible, but I found that to be true, if it's according to his word, right? So, but to be good stewards or managers of what God has given us already. And if we can't, why would he promote or give us a blessing? Why?
You like my haircut? Just had an amazing conversation with my barber. He's not just my barber, he's also a local pastor. I consider him to be a phenomenal friend. Well, I say that later in the video, but I consider him to be a phenomenal friend. Thank you, Blake, for being such an awesome sport. We have an amazing, I have a question I ask him, which is, how do you hear God when it's time to make a decision in your life and you need to hear God? How do you normally approach that? How do you pray to God and say, God, how do I make this decision? Listen up. Oh, and really sorry about the audio. I tried to get with the buzzers and the clipper. I tried to get the audio the best that I can, so sorry for the audio.
Most of the time, you're going to find what you need there in the Word of God.
Yeah.
It's already settled, forever settled. But there are times when you do hear from God. Some people feel it as an impression. Some people feel it as maybe somebody coming to them with something or a door opening. It's different. I'll be honest with you. There's some people that say they see angels every day. I don't do that.
I don't either.
I'm not that spiritual.
Yeah, I don't either.
If they do, God bless them. But usually things I encounter is fallen angels.
Amen.
So I would say, I'll give you an example. I had something pressing me one time, and I had to make a major decision. And it was a fleece of sorts. But what happened during that time that we were waiting to see what was going to happen, what door was going to open, there was one particular service, and I felt strongly about that, and I was just kind of heavy about the whole situation, what we're going to do, and it really hinged. Everything was hinged on this decision, my family's future, my wife's future, everything. Were we going to be here? Were we going to stay? What were we going to do? And all I kept hearing, or, however you feel impressed, it was just, what are you going to do until?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so was I doing everything I knew to do to the best of my ability until it happened?
Wow.
So sometimes it's not a no, it's a wait. Yeah. And so you have to decipher if it's not right. Maybe you're not where you need to be. Maybe, maybe it's the situation isn't where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I will say for, it's becoming more public now, but most of my life I've been a drummer. I've done about everything under the sun, it feels like, at church, every position. And a barber for 15 years. And by all accounts, there are days where I do feel like, is this all I'm going to do? But I know this is what I'm going to do until. So I need to do that to the best of my ability. So I guess making a decision, when do you hear from God? I think you definitely should approach it with prayer. And if you have your devotion down, I think the answer will come, whether it be something you feel like he tells you, whether it's somebody comes to you.
Yeah.
I had a situation here. If it's, I asked God, should I buy this, this business?
Talking about the barbershop.
Barbershop. Yeah. I guess I should be more specific, but
no, it's okay.
So I specifically was trying to figure out, am I going to do this or am I going to be full-time ministry? And so long story short, the answer was I was praying for either or.
Okay.
And obviously God wanted me to do both. He said He never put on more than we can bear. And sometimes I pray, Lord, I wish You would think so highly of us.
I know, right? Yeah.
But He does.
Yeah.
He cares.
Yeah.
And so He knows what you can handle.
Yeah.
So you're successful. You've been able to run a business successfully in succession of your father. And so, but you do have dreams and aspirations. And you feel like maybe there's something more that I can do. So that may be Him nudging you, hey, there is more for you. So what can you handle? So that's the until part that that's hard because you're stressed, Busy people get busier.
Yeah.
Right? And so, there's a lot of talk about burnout, and burnout's real. I think just the old timers dealt with it differently. They just work more.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We have a lot of things.
Try telling that to my dad.
Sure.
Yeah.
What's
Aren't
a
you
vacation?
burnt out? Yeah.
What's a vacation? But you do need it. I think there's a great example in the Bible. God, who's infinite in wisdom, power, omniscient, omnipresent, He's everywhere. There is no weakness in God. There's really a few things that He can't do. He can't lie, and He won't fail.
Yeah.
But He gave us an example. On the seventh day, He rested. So He didn't have to, but He showed that. So it's very real. So you're dealing with all these things in life, and what more can I handle? Well, I think feeling that burden, desire, the Bible is King James, striving, pressing towards the mark. So if you feel like you can do more, I think that's a key indicator too. But what and when and how? There's a lot of things to consider in that. But I said all that to maybe answer it.
Yeah. No, that's good. I like conversation.
Sure.
I think in my case it I don't know if it was a no, but it was definitely a not right now. Because then as soon as that happened, I spent half the day being super deflated, and sad and all of that. And then the Lord opened my eyes to all of the vulnerabilities and the places that need improvement in the business that I have right now.
So,
and He just opened my eyes to, if you went to pursuing this and putting a lot of effort over here, this would suffer.
How much are you going to neglect
Exactly.
what He's already given you?
And He knows that. And I didn't see that. And so, even though the initial was sad and, upset and deflated and all of that, I'm so thankful, man, because He's such a good father, keeping me from myself, keeping me from making decisions that I just would have dove off into.
Sure.
And I don't think God has any issues with me starting a t-shirt company.
Yeah.
Or with you buying a barbershop. I don't think that's the issue. I think His thing is He loves you and he wants excellence, He wants all of us to be a good representation, not just at church, but in the business workplace too.
Sure. Absolutely.
And I think He'll save us from that. Mm-hmm. But I think that's a good answer, because I think in my case, I was spending time. Maybe I wasn't asking God specifically, should I start a t-shirt company or no, but I was definitely in communion with God, and what that led to was God directing my path. You know what I mean? So even I'm very thankful for the fact that even though sometimes I miss to back up and ask the baseline question, God, is this even the season? Because of relationship and the fact that I'm walking with Him,
right,
He'll make sure that even if I fail to say yes or no, or ask that question, He'll lead me and guide me and make sure that I don't mess up my own life, so to speak. You know what I mean?
I think I can add this in here too, personal, that I've been through. Kind of tags along with the wait until.
Yeah.
What are you going to do in the meantime, basically?
That was good, dude. That was really good.
Well, it's one of them deals where you get drop kicked when you feel like you're justified or self-righteous indignation, and then He hits you with okay.
Yeah. I forgot you were God for a second. Whoops.
like He don't know.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? I think a lot of things too with that is being a good steward of what you already have. So we talk a lot about promotion. We talk about a lot of things that we believe God has for us or that we want to do. But it's not, we don't serve him for the blessings and the benefits. It's added to. We do it because we want to be saved. We want to make heaven our home, right? So we don't do all these things. Some people do it. That's what their whole doctrine is based off of, what you can get out of God. What blessing and benefit. It's a byproduct. It's going to happen.
We're in 100%
It's
agreement with that.
it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I believe in the blessings. I believe in the favor of God.
Yeah.
Because you're his child. There's benefits of you being a child of Terry Farrington. Sorry, I don't know if that's personal. Sorry.
No, it's
You can
not.
edit that
No,
out.
it's really not.
So there's benefits to it,
Yeah.
right? You're his son. So that comes with being a Christian. But when does it get to the point that we mismanage what God has given us? And that's what I've dealt with. Am I doing it to the best of my ability? And if I'm not, then why would he promote or give me anything, the desires of my heart? Because he will. Sometimes, he'll supply our needs, and sometimes he'll give us some of our wants. I don't think that's in the Bible, but
Yeah.
but I found that to be true, if it's according to his word, right? So, but to be good stewards or managers of what God has given us already. And if we can't, why would he promote or give us a blessing? Why? So that's the things that I say. Can I do it to the best of my ability? What can I improve on? And if I can handle it, I believe he will give you, the desires of your heart. Whether that's an extra stream of income, whether that's, if you're a good steward with what you have, and you're giving and you're doing exactly what the Bible teaches, and helping others, and running it correctly, why not? I believe with obedience and humility and all the things that we know to do, and being a good steward of it, that's the hard thing, because it's that selfish flesh deal.
We'll have to talk about it off camera probably, but there's so much confirmation in what you just said,
Right.
because something that my very own pastor texts me, I mean, just this one little one-line sentence was, steward what you already have well and worry about that later. I don't think he said worry about that later, but he said just focus on stewarding what you already have well. So you may be onto something there.
Well, I can just tell you what. That's one thing about experience. And there was an old quote that stuck with me since a teenager. And you're never at the mercy of somebody with an argument if you have an experience. So that comes with God. I've had an experience, and I've experienced things, but so for people to come at me with an argument based off of,
you're not going to win. You're not going to change my mind.
You're not going to change my mind, because I've already had an experience with God.
Yeah.
So I'm never at the mercy of somebody with an argument.
Yeah.
So.
Amen. Back to what you were saying.
Sorry.
I've had to. No. That's
Bring out the bunny trails.
No, that's good. I've had to walk that on. What you just said, I've had to walk that out personally about stewarding what you have in my finances.
Sure.
Asking God for more, to the point to where, God, why am I not increasing? What's going on?
Yeah.
And God showed me, if I increased you right now,
Yeah.
there would be nothing to show for it. You're not a good steward of what you already have financially. Yeah. And I know that point applies to everything, not just finances, but
Sure.
I'm
giving over your time, giving
honestly,
over your
I'm
gifts,
still
your
somewhat,
talents. Sure.
honestly, I'm still somewhat in that season of God trying to teach me how
Yeah.
to steward finances better, so he can trust me
Yeah.
with more,
Yeah.
And go ahead.
No, you're good. Go.
I think it aligns with what you were saying. Like, I do think that there is favor, and I think that it's not our sole purpose for serving him.
Sure.
But I think it's his desires to pour that out on us.
Sure.
But I don't think he'll do it in the way of not being a good father. And when I say that, I mean not making sure that we also know how to be mature adults.
Sure.
Let's not give $1 million to a toddler, who's just gonna, let's teach them
Exactly.
as we go.
Yeah, I had something here recently. I'm gonna have to go back and find it where it was, because my short-term memory is awful. But it was talking about, Scripture talked about, so about he resists the proud and gives grace to the humble.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So God does resist. He resists the proud. So if we have that attitude, are we meeting resistance from the adversary, or is it resistance with God?
Yeah.
Because we can be very prideful and proud. Well, look what I've done, you know. But he gives grace to the humble. So we got to figure out where our attitude, you know, what's in our nature, what are we dealing with at the moment? What resistance are we coming up against? Is it something in me?
Yeah.
And he's saying, whoa, hang on.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I think that a lot. It's not so much your position in life, it's your posture. Right?
Dude, yeah. And in the back to the original question, in the area of making decisions and praying things out, do you even want to hear what God has to say? Or have you already?
Be careful what you pray for.
Yeah.
You just might get it right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's and, truth be told.
That's experience right there.
Truth be told, that's probably exactly what I ran into. Is the reason I didn't hear God say, "Hey, this may not be the best season for that," is because I didn't want to hear that. That wasn't even an option.
Yeah.
Until, God, dude, I'll get teary-eyed talking about it. Man, I'm so thankful for mercy, dude. Like that he'll keep me even when I'm, you know.
Some people always testify of the yeses.
Yeah.
And be thankful for all of the great things and the goodness and all that stuff. But what about the no's? What about the dangers unseen that we didn't know about?
Yeah.
Why was I late? That's, you know, it's a simple analogy. Well, he could have stopped you from getting into a T-bone, you know, collision in the intersection.
Yeah.
So simple analogy, but the prayer is unanswered.
Yeah.
The no's. I had to learn how to thank God for the no's. Right? Like, well, I wanted my own deal. I set out, this is what I was going to do. But he knew what was best for me. And his ways are higher, and his thoughts are higher. And so learn how to thank God for the no's in your life. We don't like to hear no. Nobody does.
No, I told you how long I spent feeling deflated and sad and all of that. But Kent, I want to say this, and I don't want it to come across like you can take it as pride. It's really not. You probably know my heart pretty well, but you know what I'm really thankful for? I'm thankful for the fact that I'm far enough along with God that I didn't spend a season just being mad and upset at God. Like, he told me no, and now I'm mad, and God, why not? And God, this. I'm so thankful. Yeah, I was upset, but I was never upset at God.
Sure.
Like I was upset at the circumstances, but I was trusting. You know, it wasn't even a question of, am I going to do that or not? No, I'm not. He said no. He said, well, he didn't say no. He said, now's not the right time.
Sure.
And I'm thankful that it's grace and mercy. Of course, it's not me and being an awesome Christian, but I'm just thankful that he's gotten me to the place to where I trust him. I know he's trustworthy. I know if he says that he's looking out, he's not just not wanting me to have something that I want. There's a reason behind it. And even if that reason is my character is not where it needs to be right now.
Sure.
You know, my stewarding is not at the level. It would crash and burn. He's looking out for me. Mm-hmm. And I'm thankful that I'm to a place to where I guess he's proven himself trustworthy enough times to where I can take the no and be okay with the no.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's kind of goes to that whole deal, and you can relate it to people as well. It's really not what happens to you, it's how you let it affect you.
Yeah.
So that's when you get to a place, yes, sure, we should care what people think to a degree. Yes, we should be careful, you know, family, people that we trust. But sometimes we let so much outward things affect us personally that really, truly shouldn't. You know, I can't help what people do to me. I can't help what people say to me, but I can help how it affects me.
Yeah.
I do have control over that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I think that's the same with God. I think it's a decision to be bitter, to be. It's a decision, and there's a process. Sure, there's some outward circumstances that
You'll
happen.
ruffle feathers saying that now.
Well, I'm sorry. But
It's a decision to be bitter or not.
it is. It is.
No, I agree.
It's absolutely.
I'm just saying it ain't popular.
No, but maybe that's why I'm not either.
Me neither.
I play it.
Have you seen how many subscribers I got on YouTube?
Well, maybe this will hit millions here.
Yeah.
No, it's a decision. People choose to be hurt. People choose to be offended, and I had to realize that in life. You know, it was the decision and the choice that I made. Why is it that little old whoever it is lady come to church by herself, and who knows what she's dealing with? I know some of the stuff she's dealing with at home with the spouse. Yeah. You know, she's dealing, but she always is happy, always smiling, always. And then I see some people that's got the world handed to them on a platter, and they don't want to talk to nobody. They're always got drama going on in their life. There's always something. Well, they have every reason to complain if they're getting physically abused, mentally abused, or anything. It's a choice. It's a choice at the end of the day. It's a mindset. Sure. Yeah.
Do you? Oh my gosh, who was it in the Bible who laid out a fleece before God?
Oh, now you put me on the spot here.
Yeah,
I can't remember the name because I know you're talking about. I gotta tell you what.
So here is the don't let me misrepresent this, but in a real abbreviated.
It was Gideon.
Gideon, okay.
Yeah, I couldn't think of it.
Oh, dude, I knew that. So, in a really abbreviated explanation, there was a guy in the Bible who had what would you call it? Like a piece of cloth,
Sure.
like literally just a piece of cloth.
Yeah.
And he was trying to get an answer from God. And he said, God, I'm going to lay out this piece of cloth, and tomorrow morning when I wake up, let all of the ground be, and if your answer is this, yes or no,
Sure.
let all of the ground be wet from the dew, but let this piece of cloth be dry. And then the next day he said, okay, God, well, if this is really your answer, now make the cloth next morning, let the cloth be wet and all the ground be dry.
Sure.
And it was him, and we use this terminology or phraseology, putting a fleece out before God. Like, God, if this is your answer, let this happen or let this happen. My question is, do you agree with a new covenant Christian putting out fleeces before God? Because I've heard yes and no. Like,
well, I think the Lord is not afraid of questions. He's not afraid of tests. He's not afraid of fleeces. He's not afraid of try me, feel me. So he's all about persuading the doubter.
yeah.
I believe I've done it in my life and tried the Lord. Now, that kind of goes a little bit deeper. Is it a selfish deal? Hey, I didn't pay my bills this week. I just went out and did what I wanted to do. God, I need you to please send me a check in the mail. Well, he already gave it to you. You just mishandled it, right?
Yeah.
That goes back to the stewardship.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Do you think it can dip into, what's the best way to say this? Your whole lobby is going to stack up. We're going to spend so much time talking. Do you think it can dip into getting outside of the relational part of God, and almost in the area of, I don't want to say unbelief, but do you think it can dip into that? Like,
I think it's possible. I think of stuff like trying to argue with God, or like people feel like they're playing God to a sense of, I'm gonna manipulate. Well, even was it Moses that told God, if you don't save them, then blot my name out of the name. Book of law. Okay.
Take me out too. Yeah.
Sure. So he told God, look, if you don't want to do this, then just take my name out of it.
Yeah.
It's relationship. It's not a one-way street. So communion with God is communing with Him. It's a two-way street.
Yeah.
So I think that divulges into, if you have something like stuff you've done with your parents before, you've tested them, right? We all have. And I think it works that way. If he's put that in us with our relationship with mother and father, it's an example of how that we can commune with him and talk to him and have a relationship with him. So you're asking me personally, do I believe? Yeah, I believe that that fleecing the Lord can happen, and it does work. I've seen it work. Like we go back to the whole experience thing. I've seen it work in my life for sure. Give you an example, just something we're dealing with right now, and maybe I mentioned it to you. You know, our construction, property, and stuff that we had. I won't elaborate too much on it, but literally prayed a prayer. I need direction, and then got a phone call a week later about something out of the blue. And nothing really came from it, but it sparked another deal of, hey, maybe we need to do this. And it kind of, you know, sometimes it's not point A to Z. Sometimes you got to go through all the letters before you get to what he wants.
It's a walk.
It's a walk because you can't see it yet. We're looking narrow-sighted, so we can't see that yet. But if he gets you here, then maybe you can catch a glimpse of what he actually has. So that's what we're doing with it. Hey, we were looking to sell something, but now we're looking to buy something. You know, how are we going to do it? Well, I'll give you a quick little deal. We had a need arise, and we've been saving, doing what we can, but brought it before the congregation. Hey, this is what we got. We're going to take care of it. We have to put some other projects on hold. We got to take care of this termite deal, basically. And we had a random visitor show up Sunday morning, Sunday night, come back Tuesday, and Wednesday come by the office. Don't know this guy, just other than a few conversations at church, and drops off a check for a large amount to take care of the need and some. And it's just like, we didn't have to dip into, what we had already put back. So it's just like, well, if he can take care of that, then he can make sure we can get something else.
What's his name? Can you send him to my house? Tell him I got some financial needs.
I had to sign an NDA. No, I'm serious. But it was one of those deals where even me personally, I can tell everybody all day to have faith. But when you're dealing with it by yourself, and the black and the red on the paper, all the numbers.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, how can it work? And you're saying, there's no way we can do this. It don't make sense. We're smaller congregation, blah blah blah. Thankfully, we're growing, but there's just some things. You have big dreams, but at the same time, it has to make sense. And so, my wife, I'll be the first to tell you, she had a little bit more faith than I did on it. And she told me, she said, well, if he can do that, take care of that, then why can't he do the others? So I just stopped doubting my wife, I guess.
There you go. God, I don't really trust you, but I'm going to go with my wife on this one.
It's kind of like that whole thing you're talking about, fleecing the Lord.
Yeah.
It's kind of that old story with a guy kept driving around Krispy Kreme. He kept telling God, Lord, if it's your will, I'm going to stop and get me a box of donuts. But there has to be a parking spot open right at the front door. So he said about the 12th time he drove around, the parking spot opened.
That's right. Yeah.
We do that to God a lot.
Lord works in mysterious
ways. But you burn a whole tank of gas trying to get them donuts.
No, that's right. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm dieting right now, so I probably eat a whole dozen of donuts. I'm so starved for sugar.
Yeah, I've been playing a little bit more pickleball and basketball.
Nice.
And I'm 4 years from 40 and I'm dying. I'm hurting all over.
I'm a year and a few months from 40.
Are you?
And I feel you. Yeah, I'm 30. August, I'll be 39.
I didn't know my knees could feel this way.
I know, right? Just wait, it gets better.
Yeah, it's all that horizon expanding, lengthening and strengthening.
Yeah.
Everything's dying.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But
that's
thankfully, he knows best better than we do.
Amen. I'll let you finish the haircut, and we'll just wrap it up there. I appreciate you being a good sport.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. So
makes my day interesting.
Amen.